Hi, third grade. I have our lesson 118 instructional video. And this is one of the hardest lessons that we do all year long. But the concept behind this lesson is one that you guys are okay with. This is what all of our division lessons have been building up to today's lesson, where we're going to tie in a whole bunch of stuff that we've been talking about all year long. And the problems take a little longer to do, but you only have 8 of them. So what we're going to be doing today is dividing by 2-digit numbers, and the objective is divide by 2-digit numbers. That makes it look like it's super duper easy. This is going to go into some background knowledge. We're going to be using the same steps for long division: divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, bring back until there's no more numbers left. And it's going to be thinking about our lesson from a week ago when we were talking about dividing by multiples of 10. So in that lesson, our divisors were like 20, 30, 50, 10. We are going to have 2-digit divisors today, but they aren't going to be multiples of 10. However, we are going to think about multiples of 10 when we are trying to come up with an educated guess of what number we need to add to our quotient. And the only way to really explain this is to show you and go through some examples. And the first time that you do problems like this, it's probably going to be difficult and you might get frustrated, and that's okay. Remember, when something is difficult for us and we're having to work through that frustration, that means that we are growing. If we were a weightlifter and we only lifted 2-pound weights, we would never build muscles. If 2-pound weights are easy, you need to lift 5-pound weights. When those become easy, lift 10-pound weights, lift 20-pound weights. And it will be uncomfortable and difficult at first, but the more that you do it, the better you will get. The discomfort and the frustration means that our brain is learning and growing. So it's okay if it takes you a long time to get through a problem. It's okay if you need to watch back this video for every single problem to see how to set it up. That's okay. It's okay even if you don't 100% get this right away. We only have 3 more lessons left this year. We have 2 fraction lessons and an investigation, and then we're done. This stuff at the end of the book is the stuff that they teach at the beginning of the year in 4th grade. So this is giving you a good little taste. And then in the fall, you're going to learn more about this. So this isn't like the only chance to learn how to divide by 2-digit numbers, and then boom, you're expected to know how to divide by 2-digit numbers like an adult who has been doing it for a really long time. We've done single-digit division, we've done long division, we've done long division divided by tens. Now we need to take that next step and try something that's a little bit more difficult. And this lesson is really difficult. But we're going to work through this together. You can watch this video as many times as you need. It's okay even to play the video, and then when we go through one concept, pause it, do that part of your problem, unpause it, see how we set up the next part of the problem, pause it again. It's okay to go at your own pace. I am going to be going through this faster than you'll be able to do it, because for me, it's not as difficult. It's still difficult, but this gives you the opportunity to work through it at your own pace by rewatching, by pausing. You do not need to watch this all the way through. Take your time to work through the problem. So your worksheet says dividing by 2-digit numbers. Use 0 as a placeholder. So far, so good. We're familiar with that. When you multiply, if the answer is greater than the dividend, try a smaller number. Remember, the dividend is the number that's inside that box. So if I multiply the number in my quotient by my divisor, and that number is larger than the number in my dividend, so I can't subtract it, I need to try a smaller number in my quotient. we've tried something similar to that where we've said, hey, if your number that you get when you multiply your quotient by your divisor is larger, is smaller than your divisor, you need to try a different number. You can use a larger number up there. If the ones digit in the divisor is 4 or less, round it down before guessing. We just rounded yesterday, so this should be fresh in your mind. If the ones digit in the divisor is 5 or more, round it up before guessing. So they have numbers here, 163 divided by 44 and 163 divided by 46. They rounded this to 160, and they rounded it to 40 and to 40, or to 40 and to 50, so they could kind of think in their head about how many times can 44 probably go into 163. I'm going to think about how many times 40 can go into 160, and that might give me a good guess of where to start my problem. Then use the 4 division steps to solve: divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. We use 5 steps because you need to remember to go back until you run out of digits in your dividend. I want to go over these problems, these examples, to show you how they used the rounding before we go over some examples at the bottom of your worksheet. The important thing that you need to know is when they're telling you to round down or round up to help you estimate what number to put in your quotient, you need to use the actual number, though, when you're multiplying to figure out what you subtract. Don't use that rounded number or you'll get the incorrect answer. Rounding in your head just helps you guess what number belongs in your quotient. It doesn't give you an exact answer. It helps you estimate. So let's look at that example that they gave us, 163 divided by 44. 163 divided by 44. Now, they said, look at the ones digit in your divisor. The ones digit, if it's 4 or less, round it down. So they're saying I'm estimating in my head, I'm thinking about 160 divided by 40. I would have to use placeholders here because I can't subtract 40 from a 16, but I can say, hey, if I ignore those zeros, if I look at 16 and 4 times 4 is 16. So I bet that 40 might go into 160 4 times. So I am going to guess that 44 might go into 163 4 times. Now, I don't want to skip steps. I would use a placeholder, which means I would do 0 times 44 is 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. Bring down the 6. I've got a 16 now. I still can't fit a 44 in there, so that's why I have that other placeholder up there. 0 times 44 is still 0. 16 minus 0 is still 16. Now it's 163 divided by 44. So now I'm going to multiply 44 by 4. 4 times 4 is 16 because it's a square. 4 times 4, still 16, plus that 1 is going to be 17. Whoops, that number's larger than my dividend. So it's pretty close. I'm going to have to try a different number. I'm going to have to make my quotient go down by 1. I'm going to try a 3 instead because 4 times 4 gave me a little bit too high of a number. So 44 times 3. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 4 is 12 plus 1 is 13. 132. Subtract that from 163. 3 minus 2 is 1. 6 minus 3 is 3. That number is smaller than my divisor. If that number was larger, I would need to try a different number up here. But it's smaller than my divisor. I have no more numbers to bring down. My answer is going to be 3 remainder 31. We're going to try some that are in your book. So we're going to, or in your worksheet. We're not using books. So I'm going to try number 1. It says 129 Those dogs are on a timeout. They're still being obnoxious. 129 divided by 22. Now, I already know I'm going to have to use some placeholders because I can't fit a 2-digit number in a 1-digit number. So I'm going to put a 0 for a placeholder. 0 times 22 is 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. Bring down my 2. That number is still smaller than my divisor, so I'm going to need another placeholder. 0 times 22 is 0. 12 minus 0 is 12. Bring down my 9. And now I have all my numbers down. I'm going to look at 129 divided by 22. I'm going to think, what can I round these to that might help me out? 129 is really close to 130. 22, I'm going to look at the ones digit. I'm going to round it down to 20. Now I'm going to say, how many times can 20 probably fit in 130? I'm going to look at 2 and 13. 2 can fit into 13 6 times. So I'm going to say 22 might fit into 129 6 times. That's an estimate, might not be correct, but let's try it. 22 times 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 2 is still 12, plus 1 is 13. Ooh, I was a little bit too high. Let's try that with 5. 132 is more than 129. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 2 is 10 plus 1 is 11. 110. 129 minus 110. 9 minus 0 is 9. 2 minus 1 is 1. 5. Remainder 19. I know that this is really fast. That's why it's okay to pause it after each step, do a problem, that step of the problem, then come back and press play again. And you can always rewind it and do that for every single problem if you want to. Let us try. We are going to try number 7, 121 divided by 25. So again, I'm for sure going to need a place value here because I can't divide a 1-digit number by a 2-digit number. 0 times 25 is 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. Bring down my 2. That's still smaller than my divisor, so I need another placeholder. 0 times 25 is 0. 12 minus 0 is 12. Bring down that 1. Now I'm going to have to estimate to try and figure out what maybe I want to put in the quotient. I am going to round 121 to 120. I have a 5 in the ones place of my divisor, so I'm going to round that up to 30. Here's my placeholders. And I'm going to ignore those 2 zeros for a second and say, hey, 12 is a multiple of 3. 3 goes into 12 4 times. I'm going to guess that 125 or 25 might go into 121 4 times. Let's try. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 2 is 8. Plus 2 is 100. Hey, that number's smaller than my dividend. Let's make sure that I don't have a number larger than my divisor when I subtract. 1 minus 0 is 1. 2 minus 0 is 2. 21 is smaller than 25. 4, remainder 21. We have been doing this same concept. We have done long division. The confusing part is that now we have double digits. Rounding is going to help you estimate what number to put in your quotient, but it's just an estimate. It might not be exact. So try your best on this. This is our last long division lesson for the year. Feel free to rewind and play this as many times as you need.